I'll need a few more times.
So whatever Allison says, it'll be fun. What Sue doesn't like, and then you do whatever Sue says.
That's right. And steady. Close enough.
Also,
Okay.
your 10 seconds, my computer system.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the planning meeting. Okay, we've got a forum. And so we're gonna go right into Allison, Tim, myself. Is that the roll call, right? We're gonna go right into projects, so Pam, do you wanna go from there? Sure. Thank you.
There are three GML 239M referrals today. And the first one is coming to us from the Village of Hudson Falls Planning Board as a project under the consideration for the approval of a site plan. This applicant is the Holy Trinity Anglican Church, who wants to occupy 180 Main Street. It's around the park, Dragon Park Central to the village. They want to operate as a house of worship. And the review is for planning agency is due to 500 feet of New York State Route 4 and state-owned land containing recreation area, which is New York State Bike Route 9. There's no plans for changes to the exterior, its interior. And just a few notes, one note is that it's within the Hudson Falls Downtown Revitalization Strategic Area. Bring their plan up today. But there's a whole area that's outlined, considering through their BOA. But it wasn't identified as one of the strategic locations in the other than being in that area, but they had specific sites. So I'm.
That's for chairs.
I don't know, but has that awning and a window that looks like there's a little window on the inside. It's like next to Empire and what's on the other side? I think it's, yeah, in that block.
So they will be a tenant, it looks like. Yeah, and is upstairs residential or?
I think so. Yeah. It didn't state it in the
Yeah, well, I think it's good to fill those vacant storefronts in general.
Being in the DRI, that seems to add to this area.
Yeah,
And that will help, revitalize them down, which is a very helpful situation.
so I will make a motion that it's a matter of local concern.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
The second referral is for a project under the Village of Hudson Falls Planning Board consideration for approval of site plan. The applicant is 94 River Street LLC. The address is 94 River Street. And the project is to add an 8-foot by 120-foot accessory structure. And the purpose of the GML review is it's 500 feet of a municipal boundary, meaning Warren County. It just touches, you will see from the 500-foot map the color one, that's the case. And also New York State Route 4. the storage building is an add to an existing storage operation, and there's already a few buildings there. I don't understand what the line, they didn't put a key on the map, on the sketch map, but I don't know what the dash and the dot line is. I know that's one property according to the GIS map. It may make sense.
So it's it's a the whole long parcel.
And that also shows the aerial view from the GIS.
So they have a lot of things around.
When it comes to us too, they have the village has an exemption for accessory structures, but it's limited by size, and so this is larger.
Am I missing something? Is there an entry into here off of the street?
Yes, there's an existing driveway.
Okay.
There's at the very second to last page, you can see the aerial with a
Yeah.
100-foot buffer. And you can see the long building, that's the property, that's 154.5-1-55. And there's an access from River Street.
The adjacent properties, well, I guess the properties that front River Street, are those commercial, residential?
mix.
It's a mix, okay.
It's a mix, kind of organically grown through time.
Yeah.
Hardly. And this has been a storage yard for, I guess. This is. Actually, looking, didn't notice in the application is what is being stored.
That's what I was.
But it's,
Yeah.
but just that the building is similar to other buildings on the property.
What do the other buildings store? Do we know that?
I don't know. I did the application. Just as a storage yard.
Yeah.
And it would still have light use.
Mhm.
So what you see is what they're doing.
Doesn't seem to indicate that it'll increase, oh, it says. Doesn't seem to indicate that it would increase intensity, you saw that much.
Any more discussion? No. Any discussion? Okay, so looking for a motion.
I would make a motion that, it's a matter of local concern with a note that, notification to Warren County is necessary.
Wait a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. And next.
Okay. Third project this morning is a referral of a project under the Town of Fort Anne Planning Board consideration for the approval of a site plan. The applicant is 349 Cleverdale LLC, address 10915, New York State Route 149. And the project that's being reviewed is a site plan for a water bottling center in the former airport hangar on that property. And the purpose of the GML review is it's not 500 feet of a farm operation. We had to look that up and we found was confirmed yesterday. And then New York State went through 149. The idea is to lease space in a former 6,400 square foot airport hangar to set up bottling machines too, actually. About 2,500 square feet to be used to fill water bottles, no sales on site, 2 employees. A water from a Fordan spring will be trucked to Harris Airport and emptied into a holding tank. Glass bottles will be filled automatically by a 15-foot long bottling assembly line machine. Am I correct to say 2? Barb said 2. One. Okay, to interior floor of existing hangar. Filled bottles packed in cases will be placed in a tractor trailer, like an 18-wheeler, to be delivered to a warehouse for distribution. The delivery of the water is supposed to be 1 time a week, and the export of the water is 1 time per week. And I think that I had a couple other notes on a piece of yellow. It's my paper. So the plans are to develop the site for a variety of purposes. And we've seen, recently the Crown Castle, so there's the telecommunications tower. And then the projection of movies on the airport hangar. So I guess my only note is there's no zoning, there's no comp plan, but it is of consideration that when we look at compatibility of uses, because they think there's more plans than that. And luckily we have Kevin O'Brien here today if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, just a clarification again, the 6,400 square foot hangar that's out there will be 3,500 of that feet will be used for this bottling operation. It's probably a 2-year temporary project. After they go to market, high-end water will be sold basically to your high-end restaurants from New York City, but also high-end hotels and motels around the country. Because again, the water that's coming out of the South Bay aquifer doesn't need to be treated. They've gone through 8 years with DOH to get it all properly done, and the DOH has reviewed it twice, basically saying you drink it or they pour it out of there. So they're banking again on natural water, going glass because they're green people, so they don't want to have any plastic or any paper out there. And again, 2 years in our hangar, and then most likely someplace on the lot, so we'll build them a probably 8,000 square foot. Not gonna.
So the bottles go out and the bottles are returned. Is there sterilization involved?
That's a good question. I don't know when the bottles are, delivered to Colorado. Don't know if they're gonna be coming back or again, it just gets processed out, as far as recycling.
So we have logos on the bottle,
Excuse me?
logos.
Yeah, they do have, sorry, I didn't bring it, but there's some type of, I think it has FA or something in there. There's something that is the description for it.
So it'll be a marketing
Yes,
technique,
yeah,
kind of like that Coke Creamery with their bottles.
exactly.
Okay, so that's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been looking for 2 years for the proper bottle, and the key thing to just understand is that the bottling lines, because they're bottles of glass as opposed to plastic and paper, you just can't have any regular bottling line. So they're actually ordering these things and they're built because they're unique. Otherwise, it'd be breaking the glass as they go down.
How do you get the water from Fordan to?
You guys ever seen the Just Water tanker? It's like a propane tank that comes to your house. So that truck is coming down South Bay Road and then on to Harris. Put it in the folding tank, puts it into the lot. Yeah. They did have some investors that actually wanted to put a pipeline from South Bay right through the Nat Grid access there and just bring it on to Harris that way, but I think that was a little bit too much craziness. The whole idea from the Miller boys that own the property is they don't want to be an Aquafina, right? They just want to be, you know, a small plowing operation and do all of it, so. Marketing pitch.
Yes. Any other questions?
Will there be a deposit on the file?
I think so, yes, New York State, right?
Kind of like, I think, Matthew has $2.50, right?
Unless you buy it on eBay, that's $35.
Wow. Guess you don't buy a lot.
What's your number?
You just know.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Pamela, do you have some comments or some considerations we should think about?
Just some of the notes that I placed, here, we already talked about product traffic and the site plan relationship impacts with other operations. Noise, you know, water is an interesting planning question around the country and what happens to water rights and but this is private property. I don't understand quite the pipeline idea because that's drawing that from the aquifer, but I guess that's a matter of DEC and the state.
Yeah,
But it does have a potential for intermunicipal impacts if you're not prepared to think about it in the long run.
again, part of the, this, where the property is it's at the headwaters of this artesian well. From a guy coming to or whatever. So when they, but 7-8 years ago, when DOH had them, allowed them to put in the pump, the aquifer and the pipe to draw water out, for 72 straight hours, they pulled something like 100,000 gallons an hour, right, from that aquifer. Across the street is some vein that comes underneath, South Bay Road. And DEC was monitoring that flow, right? Because you're pulling water out here, this vein should be, you know, depleting. And through the 72 hours, there's no change in force or turbidity or that kind of stuff. So it supposedly goes from South Bay Road, 5 miles wide, south to just south of Saratoga. That is the entire footprint of that.
So it's an aquifer that's identified?
What's that?
It's an aquifer type of thing that's identified?
I don't know what it is, but yes, they've got all the stuff going all the way back to 17, 1800s.
Yeah.
That they did all the research and it is, there's a known Department of Health and also DEC knows about the size. It's a good
And
story for the history.
yes.
That's a great way to start.
In terms of planning, study, water, much. Do you have any knowledge about, like, who owns the aquifer? Is it a national thing? Is it a state thing?
I think in New York, it's landowner.
It is
I would
private.
say.
And so the private, he owns the aquifer that's under his land,
Yeah.
but it's pulling water from other properties.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And-
interesting. Do you know anything?
In states that have, you know, Colorado, it's a different situation than I think here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I said you put 72,000 gallons of water,
No, it was 72 hours.
72 hours, and how many
They
gallons?
pulled 500,000 gallons out and the level of that vein didn't get touched at all.
How, do they know how fast the flow is?
Yeah, they didn't give me that information, but I mean, if I look at it, close.
Yes. So it wouldn't impact neighbors' water quality nor their volume of water, is what we're getting at.
Presumably, if it's not impacted by any sort of drought scenario, we might find ourselves in, but we don't have that
Information.
Yeah, or, you know, we don't know. Yeah, yeah. All right, it looks like, they've done their due diligence and.
So.
And actually, I think I misspoke earlier, this is the one. I'm like, no, I'm right. I'm misreading this. Okay, so I would say, it is a matter of. Okay.
Wait a second.
Second.
I agree. So all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
That's it.
Okay, so, there's a segment here under other, just a few notices that came to our office, so. Ag and market certification of modification to Ag District 8 and Ag District 1 and 7. Inclusion of viable ag land, so those came through. Notification in the Village of Argyle intends to act as lead agency for wastewater collection and treatment system project.
This one was interesting. I reached out to the engineer on this. What they've done is a preliminary, an EPG, so an engineering planning grant for their wastewater system, but I guess technically that's the action, but what the seeker is for is the actual implementation of a wastewater. So I was confused, but that's like, that's what they're noticing, which is not, I guess that's a future action, so I guess they're just looking into the future.
So they're just
presumably.
being prepared.
They're just being, because exception of an EPG would not be this type 1 seeker that they're noticing, but they're just looking into the future.
Then, New York State Office of Parks and Recreation, Historic Preservation, it noticed of Thompson District Number 10 School in Greenwich as nominated to the National Register of Historic Places.
Cool.
And I received yesterday, the Department of Public Services has an annual study high-speed broadband service in New York State. So they're requesting public comment. Their in-person public statement hearings are on 3/27 with a close date for registration, March 25th, which was yesterday. But comments may be provided throughout the process, and they just request them by April 10th.
Just to be clear, you got it yesterday and it closed it.
Correct.
Or I should
Not
say
an
closed
unusual-
the same day that you.
Not an unusual occurrence. And then the last item on the agenda is that their planning agency business. This is the 4-year renewal of local municipal exemptions. I have prepared a draft cover letter, a sample agreement, and a model resolution that I'm going to send to all the town and village boards for them to choose whether they're going to renew or to sign on, because there are some municipalities that haven't signed on. But the thing to note about that is that this is provision in GML 239 to streamline the process and to make the process easier. So for instance, the project that we saw today, the Anglican Church going in, well, they're not making external changes to the property. And so it could be something that they could add into their exemption with the uses just going from one type to the other. And it doesn't preclude that they can't send it to planning agency, that the boards can always send things for our review or just our opinion and comment. So, but it does make it a little bit easier for them not to have to send things that they know are a matter of local concern. And the template was inherited Chris DeVault, the prior person in my position, and then the county administrator. He did the two cycles ago, and we've kept the template pretty much the same. We haven't changed it. So I did it in 2020, and it's on a 4-year cycle. So the 2024 will be up again for renewals again in 2028. And there's not a deadline. You can always decide, the board can always decide to come on. It's just that their renewal date will remain the same regardless if it's a month before. So we just keep it as an organized pattern. So
Very
that's
helpful.
that.
Very helpful. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Anything else with anything? No?